Hey friends, thanks for joining me. We're gonna make a little tool caddy or a toolbox. All right, so how we are going to do this is we really only need about 3 pieces to start with. We are going to use a 1x4 and this one's a little bit different because as you can see, it's a one of the boards that we milled, so it's not a true 1x6 or a 1x8, but I'm gonna recommend a 1x6 or a 1x8, your choice. So we need a total on the 1x8, we need 30 or 32 inches, and on the 1x4, we need about 29 to 30 inches. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the 1x6, we're gonna cut it at 16 inches. 1/6, 16. Then we will take the rest of it, we're gonna cut a 7-inch piece and another 7-inch piece. So now we'll have our sides and our base. We're gonna set the sides on top of the base, and that means that these side pieces will be smaller than the base because they're gonna fit inside here. So if you're using a true 1x6 or a 1x8, that means it's 3/4 and 3/4. So you'll take 1.5 inches off of 16, which would give you a 14.5-inch piece. Now, if you don't have a true 1x6, you'll have to measure the thickness here and the thickness here, subtract those thicknesses from this piece. You cut it to whatever that needs to be, either 14.5 or whatever you're using. Then we place that on top of the wider base piece. We have our sides we're putting in, and now we can glue it together and put some screws in there. But there's this piece too. So whatever you have for here, this is a 5/8 dowel. You can use a 3/4. I probably wouldn't use less than a 1/2 inch. Half might be a little bit small. I thought 5/8 would be good for this size. So before you screw it together, you need to drill a hole in the center this way. And then I like to go down about 1.5 inches because I have a 5/8 hole and I didn't want this being too small. And so you need to make sure you get that in there and glue it in before you glue the pieces on. And you can stop just like, you can have it be just like this, and that could be your toolbox. But I don't like that as much. I want to make my corners have an angle here. I want to cut my angles, and then I'm going to sand everything before I glue it and screw it all together. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to take a speed square and make a 45-degree cut on here and over here. Then I'm going to take sandpaper and a file and make everything super smooth, and then I will glue the pieces all together, and I'll put some screws in here and some screws from underneath the base up to here. You could also use small nails, but I would recommend using very small nails so that they don't split your material. Okay friends, so we are going to take our speed square, and I'm gonna make some lines on here, and I just went 1 inch in from the edge. And now I'm going to take my square, let's see, how do we do this? Do we get the right 45? Here we go. I'm gonna take my 45, go like that. The easier way probably to do that is to measure over 1 inch, connect the dots. That's probably the easier way to do things. So now I have my 45s. I will put it in the vise. I'm gonna use my bench stop and my stop in the vise. I'm gonna squeeze that piece. When I start with my saw, I'm gonna start on the edge. And it usually works best to pull it to get some sort of channel. And then you can slowly, with very minimal pressure, push down. And once you get a channel started, then you can really go to town. I'll do the same thing here. Cut those and make those notches on the sides. Then I'll get a file every edge and sand every edge to make it all smooth. Then we'll put it together. Okay friends, so now we have our corners cut. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I actually file this, because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm gonna put it in the vise right over here. And I really like this file. It's a combination. Has a file on one side and a rasp on the other, and then it has a flat rasp and file. So I'm gonna use this, and I'm just gonna take the sharp edges of the corners off. I'm just gonna taking these sharp edges off. So I'm just gonna I can put it over here, put my hand over here if I want. I'm not getting too crazy. I just want to make sure every place that I could put my hand doesn't have a sharp edge on it, and I'm not going to get a splinter from any part of that. Okay, friends, so now I think we are ready to put it all together. So we will glue it, and I'm using some little Torx screws. They use a T15 bit. I'm using them in an impact driver. This is a drill. This is a driver. First thing I will do is I'm going to flip. Well, actually, the first thing I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look where these line up, and I'm going to put some pre-drilled holes. I think 2 on each side is enough. And the reason I want to pre-drill this is so that it doesn't split out. so I don't drive a screw in here and have this split out. Okay, so now I can go ahead and I can screw this together if I so choose. It might make it easier to put on the bottom of the box. So I'm gonna set this in here. Now, one thing I forgot to do, I wanna go ahead and glue these also. So I'm gonna grab some glue, put some glue on these edges, screw those together, and then flip it over and put the bottom on. Make sure you line up your edges. And then I like to wipe off any excess glue and put it on another spot that will need some glue. Oh, look at that, she's overflowing. Okay, so I got those. I'm gonna put some more in. I'm gonna try to make use of some of this glue. I also recommend having a paper towel close by. So that way, if you have a bunch of glue on your hand, you can wipe it off and not smear it on your project. Definitely want to line it up, make sure it's flush on the sides. And when I say flush, friends, I mean that these are at the same level. This one's not sticking out, not sticking in. They're smooth. That's called flush. Now, I just did what I told you not to do. I didn't put this thing in. So we are gonna see, I'm probably gonna have to, I'm gonna have to take the screws out and then put this thing in. Sometimes things like that happen. So let's do it while the glue is wet. All right, here we go. That's better. Okay. So this is what we call a friction fit. It's a tight fit in here. And I would probably get a mallet and do a little tapping here. Yeah, that's not gonna be great for me. So I'm gonna get a mallet, set it up like this. Now we're flush. Now we'll screw it back together. We'll get there, friends. It may take a while, but we will get there. Like I said before, we're checking for flush on the sides. We want to make sure our sides here is flush. We'll worry about that bottom when we drill those holes and screw that in. Okay, now we are solid there. So now what we'll do is we're gonna flip it over. And the reason we put a flat on there is so it can stand by itself. We can make our pre-drilled holes in here. And I'm gonna do 6 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sounds like my battery's dying. Okay, and remember how we did it last time? We forgot the glue, but we're not forgetting the glue now. We just want a little bit of glue. Now it's gonna be real stubborn and not come out. There we go. Just a little bit. Now I want things flush. Remember, flush is, they're smooth on the sides, they all line up good. Checking all the way around, make sure everything's flush. And I'm taking the same 1.5 T15s. And I'm sinking the screw head down to where it's flush with the top of the wood. I also am checking, I want to make sure when I screwed this down that this top didn't move a little bit. And so I'm checking the back side, making sure it's flush over here and over here when I screw this down, so it doesn't kick it out a square. I'm gonna screw my corners in. And now I'm gonna go to the middle. And here is my completed toolbox. I can stick whatever I need in there and transport it. Now, I'm not totally done yet. So what I need to do now is I want to make sure all of it is smooth. So I'm going to take that file again and I'm going to file on every edge and then sand every side and make sure it's all smooth. It feels really good to the touch, and I'm not going to get a splinter off any part of this. So that's what I'll do now, is I'll sand it, I'll file every edge, and I'll make it really nice to grab. But there we go, folks. There is our little toolbox, our tool caddy. You could use it for all kinds of stuff. You could put paint brushes in this. You could put all kinds of things in there. If you needed a project for a child or a young adult, this is a great little starter project. You can make it for your kids. This would be a nice little gift for Christmas or whatever you want to do with it. That's how I make it. I'm sure there's many other different ways to do it, but that's one way to get it done. Hey, thanks so much for watching, friends. Make sure to work hard when you're working on your box or when you're working on anything. Work hard, because hard work is its own reward and it makes us better. Thanks for watching.